Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs Podcast, presented by Toyota, the GM meetings begin in Vegas. Will the Cubs be laying groundwork, or are they actually going to get it done early this time? Plus, haters and bleacher bums prepare to clash today. We're handing out Ian Happ's much-awaited, much-anticipated report card. Good, better, best. We never let it rest. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, driven by our friends at Toyota. Let's go places. Happy Monday. It is the 10th of November, and a fresh coat of snow on the ground around the Chicago area. By the way, I guess it's different. Like, we got an inch and a half of snow in Arlington Heights. Apparently, like, Valpo and other places got, like, almost a foot.
Whoa. Evanston got four. Got four.
That's not 11 inches of snow. Sorry,
I had to dig out today, and honestly, like this is one of those special shows today. Because have you ever heard of that, like, dissociative disorder or whatever, when you can remove your mind from the current state of your reality? Talking baseball with you for the next hour is literally that disassociation, because this is too early. It's too early for me, Luke. Sean, is this too early? It's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, man.
No, Joey, clearly you're not a maritime fan. This is the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, so it's actually extremely fitting that a hurricane/snowicane is taking place on November 10th, 50 years after the 1975 sinking. So, no. It's not too early.
You're the best.
It's not too early.
Well, you don't know like life. You just woke up yesterday. And Luke, I want to pick your meteorologist brain. What do you think about Chicago missing this lake effect snow? Because it does seem like you need a certain wind pattern to get a lot of snow onto Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, usually Valpo gets a lot of lake effect snow because the wind blows across the lake, and the lake's warmer, and then it dumps all the snow, right? But I lived up there where the Edmund Fitzgerald went down in the Upper Peninsula. Now, I'm not a history guy, so I didn't know the history of it because I didn't pay attention in school until I moved up there, and everybody was talking about the Edmund Fitzgerald. When I was a news reporter up there in the UP, before they let me do sports, I had to do a hunting series because they have series around sweeps. Everybody's got to do like a special story, investigative, whatever. Mine was a hunting series. They sent me out into the woods with hunters for deer camp, which starts like November 1st up there. And let me tell you, they get into it, first of all. But I just know that I was thigh deep walking in snow early in November up there. It was absurd. Wow. And it was cold. And we sat in the cold waiting for deer all day. And the deer, they all know to go right by the side of the highway because you can't shoot them within a mile of the road. So the deer somehow know, and they just line up in piles by the highway.
Humans?
And we're out in the woods sitting there waist deep in snow, freezing, trying not to give off a scent. Anyways, that's my Upper Peninsula story. And yeah, they had the Edmund Fitzgerald up there.
And look, like I'm gonna be a baby about it because I know that after Thanksgiving it is full on. It's carte blanche to have snow whenever. It could snow all through December, January, February. It can even snow into March. I fully accept that, and even that weird sleet you'll sometimes get in early April. But before Thanksgiving, man, come on, just like leave us alone.
Yeah, I don't. We've had it in October. We've had plenty. We had snow on Halloween a couple years ago, like a lot of it. But by the way, if anybody ever offers you deer liver, take a pass.
Venison, yes. Deer liver,
venison liver, fresh out of the animal. Just word of advice: take the pass on that. Okay, I like a lot of things. That wasn't one of them. All right.
I thought Luke was going to
Stuckmeyer
say
and Joey
don't eat yellow
Christopolous and
snow.
Sean Anderson. What, Sean?
I thought you were going to say don't eat yellow snow, which is, just
Well,
tale as old as time.
That is a true story as well.
That
was an eye-opening experience. I'm a fisherman, but I'm not a hunter. And let me tell you, 3 or 4 days in the UP, these people have elaborate setups for these deer camp. One was, I was on a platform. It was across a valley, like a mountain to mountain. Down below was a river, and these guys got on a platform, and they had built a pulley system to pull themselves over to, on top of the other mountain was just their deer camp and their sauna. Sauna is how they say it up there. And so each person would have to pulley themselves across this river to go over and sit there. And then they would put a pile of bait on the other side of the river, and they'd sit on their porch and they'd shoot deer when the deer showed up for food. Didn't seem all that challenging, but that's how they did it.
Well, Johnny Water Ice, which is just how I'm going to read it because it's kind of apropos to what we're talking about right now, says deer jerky in the chat. Maybe that's actually good. Honestly, yeah. when you said, the moment you said you were up to your thighs in snow, I immediately transported myself to the left field bleachers, and I'm eating a hot dog with a hard iced tea vodka seltzer because it's too early. I just can't. I just can't. I can't do this. I can't.
That's right.
Dug myself out today. Dug myself out of my parking spot.
I've had some cold, really brutal days at Wrigley Field, but nothing like the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. Let me tell you that. Speaking of cold, how about PCA? We're going to get to the report card for Ian Happ. Some people are going to be ice cold, and other people are going to be nice and warm and sunny. And we're going to do a fun segment after that. But speaking of snubbed and cold, and left maybe a little bitter taste in their mouth. PCA, not a platinum glove winner? Huh? What? That was Friday? Tatis Jr., do you care at all about this, that PCA didn't win the platinum glove?
Okay, I have to be fully transparent here that when I lay my head down on my pillow at night, I'm not thinking about who's winning the platinum glove, right? I'm just not. Okay, so
Me neither.
But for the sake of the argument of him getting snubbed, the answer is absolutely. If you look at the National League, this has basically been the Nolan Arenado Award for the better part of the last decade, the Yadier Molina Award. And I can understand how some people, I saw something out there of like how many home runs did Fernando Tatis rob this year? They said 4. How many did Patrick Bailey or Pete Crow Armstrong had a 0? It's like, all right, I don't know how we're putting the calculus together on this to come up with the formula of who deserves the platinum glove. And for those unfamiliar, Fernando Tatis is the winner this year. Last year, Bryce Terang. The year before that, Fernando Tatis. So he's a previous winner. Maybe that gave him a little bit of a heads up. Obviously, we see here the fan vote. I thought, what does it say? I thought last season was a lot worse than it was outside of two really bad months.
It's just a fan vote.
Yeah,
that's likely it's Tatis won and his one before. It's a fan vote.
And I guess my only thing that's strange about this is that, like, literally, if you told me that if there was a contest, if like thieves showed up at your house, Luke, and said, we're going to take everything you have, unless you can pick one person to go out and hit and catch these 10 fly balls that we're going to try and hit as far as we can. Yeah. Are you really telling me you're picking Fernando Tatis over Pete Crow Armstrong to go out and catch those fly balls? Like, that's the part that I don't understand.
First of all, if thieves are coming to my house, I want them to take my debt. That's what I want. Take all of my debt if you're going to steal something from me. Take that first. It's the fan vote thing that's stupid. Like, Tatis is tied with PCA in 15 defensive runs saved, but outs above average, 8, tied for 37th in baseball. So how could he be the best defensive player in the league? PCA had 24, tied with Bobby Witt Jr. for the most in all of baseball. PCA had the most putouts in all of baseball. And listen, if Tatis Jr. were the best defensive player in baseball, he wouldn't be playing right field. Seiya plays right field. Is he our best defensive player? No, he is not. That's just the place we can stick him. Like, the best player defensively does not go to right field. It just doesn't happen. It's almost always the center fielder or the shortstop, one of the two. And PCA is the best. Now, like you, Joey, I don't care. I really don't care. But if you at home, Cubs fan, are sitting there and you're stewing in your chair. You're just like, I can't believe it. How could Tatis do this? Well, it's our fault. Did you vote, Joey?
No. As a matter
No,
of
I
fact,
did not either. I didn't even know there was
slept
a
in
vote.
that morning. I don't know. Yeah.
I didn't know there was a vote. I wouldn't have voted if I knew there was a vote. I won't vote next year. So sorry to PCA. I feel bad. We should apologize that somehow we let a Cubs player lose to a Padres player in fan vote. Most Padres fans are 85 and older. I don't even know they had access to voting systems, let alone access to putting this guy on as the best defensive player in baseball. So this one's on us, Cubs fans. This one is our fault, and I'm willing to put that on my shoulders too, because frankly, I didn't vote and I will not vote again next year.
And if we got a little blinded by, I don't know, the Bears are over 500, Blackhawks over 500, Bulls over 500. Oh, yeah, that's right. There are no other sports teams in San Diego, so maybe that helped it out a little bit. And maybe Fernando Tatis does a little bit better on TikTok right now. I can't get upset about this. Joseph Crosdale, by the way, putting together some great comments here in the chat. Thank you for your help. I'm looking at this list here too as well, and this makes all the sense in the world now, because you know who won in 2016? Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo won the Platinum Glove in 2016. You can't tell me that he was by far the best defensive player. I get it at his position at first base. He was always an excellent defensive first baseman. But the best defensive player of any position in the National League went to Anthony Rizzo in 2016. He had Javi Baez on his team, Luke. So
yes, I know.
You know what? You hear the word platinum, and the American in me probably says, "Ooh, that's fancy. Oh, that's shiny." I'd love for Pete Crow Armstrong to get that. I don't know if I care.
I would like to put a lie detector on PCA and ask him if he actually cares. Like, does he actually want the extra trophy sitting somewhere in a home? Like, maybe he does care. If he does care, then I'm mad that we failed him as Cubs fans. But the big problem is that it's a fan vote at all. That's just silly.
Is it also fair to say that I think both of us believe optimistically in the trajectory of Pete Crow Armstrong's career, that this might be the last year anyone's going to be winning it other than Pete Crow Armstrong for quite some time? Because if he keeps making highlight reel catches and they keep running on socials, especially CHGO Sports socials or CHGO Cubs, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a stranger, make sure you subscribe to our channel, that maybe this is the more that he gets put under the bright lights, the more he keeps getting mic'd up at an all-star game, the more likely it is that not only is it going to be the gold glove for PCA, but also maybe this platinum glove for years to come.
Yeah, but get all these old people in San Diego, and we know that nobody in the state of Wisconsin is voting for him. So you've already taken a whole state and turned it to Tatis. He's already won the state. We don't even have to wait for the votes to come in. He's won the state. He's lost the state of Wisconsin to Tatis.
I mean, the biggest one here is Bryce Terang, man. How did you let it slip through your fingers this year, man? Another huge L for the Milwaukee Brewers. I know they have a flag for it, so they should be fine.
That's a good point. So the GM meetings start today in Vegas, and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby, right? But what's really going to go on there this week? I first of all, I think for anybody out there that's not familiar with the GM meetings and then the winter meetings and what the difference is, this is it. Now, I think most people know this, but if you don't, this is it. The GM meetings is generally the GMs and the front office guys, they kind of get around and they like to have a couple cocktails. They like to have some fat dinners, and they like to get out of the house one more time before the holidays. And they lay what they like to call is the groundwork for signings, trades, any kind of move they might make this offseason. Very rarely does somebody jump up at the GM meetings and say, oh, we've completed our offseason and we made this massive groundbreaking deal or trade. It doesn't happen very often. The winter meetings usually are more likely where the deals get done, where the groundwork has been laid here this week. Then the deals more likely get done at the winter meetings. Now, CHGO, we traveled to Nashville, and I can tell you, I've been to winter meetings before too, and sometimes the winter meetings provide absolutely nothing, and the deals get done after that, okay? This is more of a feeling it out a little bit. Like, for instance, we know that Shota is thinking about whether or not he should take this 22 mil or just, you know what, say no, go out on the market because so his agent is putting some feelers out around there, going around all these gyms. Like, what are they all really saying around there? What were they saying? This is where he's trying to decide if he's just going to take 1 year. I saw Woodruff's another guy that might be considering taking his qualifying offer. But this is mostly about laying the groundwork, right, Joey?
Oh, yeah, no, the word Luke's missing is collusion.
Oh, and then there's also collusion there, yes.
Sounds like a lot of collusion.
Yeah, I think there are going to be a couple things that are going to leak out, but they're probably going to be general. They're going to be framework. I got a couple of them that I think I'm going to make some predictions on some things that we might hear this week, but we're going to do it on the other side of the break. Everyone hop in the chat. Just jump on in right now. First one's first is November 18th for Shota Imanaga. Do you want him to take the qualifying offer? Hop in the chat. Make sure you like the video too as well. We're going to be back in 2 minutes on the CHGO Cubs podcast. Hey, Cubs fans, with the Bet365 early payout offer, you are a winner. If your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout on straight bets, that means it doesn't matter what team you pick. Hey, pick the Chicago Bears or pick a different NFL game. If they go up by 17 points, you are an instant winner. So download the app and use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. Monday Night Football coming up tonight, so they have a 50% super profit boost on same game parlays. They also have the Thursday night for later in the week with the $10 safety bet. Also with the 100% parlay boost, you can double your winnings on parlays with Bet365 100% parlay boost. So download that app, use code CHGO365 when you sign up, because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. Remember, new customers right now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. So you just sign up, use the code CHGO365, place a bet for deposit for 10, place a bet for 5, and you can win $200. Remember, you must be 21 plus or older, and if you or someone that you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in app only.
Okay, athletes, got an important question for you. Are you serious about taking your game to the next level? Hey, I could have been the next Babe Ruth. Didn't have the right coach. I only got the physique part down to that. Then I could have been the next MJ. Coach didn't believe in my hops. That was it. The right coach can change everything for you. Now finding one is easy with eye on the ball. Doesn't matter if your kid just starting out or competing at the top level. You can sign up totally free at eyeontheball.net. Started by, this is the best part, CHGO diehards. Our people started this. Create your profile, search through your coaches in your sport, and connect directly with the one that is perfect for you. From soccer to swimming, baseball to basketball, you name it, the coaches are there. So what are you waiting for? Your future coach is waiting for you at eyeontheball.net. Find your coach and take your game to the next level.
The CHGO Cubs podcast. We got a Toyota Super Chat I want to read to you really quick, Luke, before we get to the GM meetings. It's from our guy, Craig Brindle, who's always in the chat. We love having him. Great comments. He goes, I was going to ask if Luke drank deer blood, but he was talking about eating fresh deer liver. Crazy. Thoughts?
Craig, let's not be ridiculous. I was offered the deer liver, both cooked and uncooked. I'll just say I made a mistake, and I would never drink deer blood. Human blood, that's another story, but that's a different podcast. You know, like if I it's a little dark. It's a little dark. You know, it's got a little bit of a twang to it. You know,
notes of leather and iron.
Van Persie, presented by Toyota.
Yeah, Van Persie. Well, the funny part is, honestly, Craig, the answer to that question, too, as well, is if we were doing this show 10 years ago before they won the World Series, bring on the deer blood. If that's what it takes to win a World Series, I'm chugging it. I'm chugging it. I'm getting it on.
No, the weirdest part of deer camp is not the food or the hunting or that the deer ran to the streets to get away. It's that every deer camp I went to did not have plumbing.
Ooh.
And when you're waist deep in snow, that leads to some uncomfortable moments, especially in the middle of the night, if you have to go.
Well, speaking of what my thoughts possibly are on the GM meetings with uncomfortable moments. Hi, P. Crowd Armstrong 67. Hey guys in the chat, welcome to the show. You asked on the other side of the break. The GM meetings, you don't hear a lot. Sometimes you can hear a little bit of some traction or maybe some things pushing in one direction or the other, trying to get a feel of like where the wind is blowing. Where the winter meetings, things can happen. Transactions, trades, signings, all that good stuff can happen. So the two parts that I was thinking about, Luke, was one, I do think we are going to get some more news this week, and I think we're going to do a larger segment on the postings of the 3 Japanese players that I do think are going to have a pretty solid market in the free agent class of 2025. When we talk about Murakami, Okamoto, and Ime, or is it Imai? I'm so sorry. I want to get the pronunciation. I want to get the pronunciation right. But he's officially posted today. So he's a 27-year-old right-handed pitcher that throws 99 miles an hour. We're going to dive into him. We're going to talk about him. So I think there's going to be a little bit more of some news and some scuttlebutt about what the contract could look like, where they might want to go. Early reports is Okamoto might have a preference for the Angels, right? The Yankees are going to be in on MA. So we're going to see a little bit more on that. And then the other one, Luke, is I'm just curious to see when we talk about the uncomfortable conversations, do we hear anything more about just what the tenor is and what the temperature is among GMs when we talk about the possible labor stoppage next year? It's starting to loom over the game like a cloud. And what stinks about it, Luke, really quick, is that they just had a fantastic World Series, and they should be doing this PR victory lap on baseball is back and look at all these great stars and these superstars, but they can't have that press conference right now without a reporter rightfully doing their job, asking about possible labor stoppage the year after. And I think we might hear something along the lines of that this week. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, the Japanese players will be one story. The Schwarbers of the world, the free agency, all of those things will be storylines. But there is no bigger storyline to this offseason than how a possible work stoppage after next season is going to impact anybody that's making moves 1 year ahead of that, right? Like whether you're talking about a trade or whether you're talking about a long-term contract or a short-term contract, how's it going to impact how firm the players are about what they want this year, right now, and how firm are the teams going to be about what they want now and in the future? And how's that going to impact the market? Is it going to make it faster? Or is it going to make it slower? Is it going to mean we're going to get a lot of one-year deals? Is it going to mean, no, the players are going to put their foot down and they're going to demand multi-year deals because they don't want to be held up by what might be coming after that? We don't know the answers to it. I think it may lead to a slower market. A lot of years we have a slower market, but we'll see. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that.
That was my follow-up question to you, Luke, is that's what I think is really fascinating about this offseason is it possible, or am I overthinking it, that this offseason can either be more inflammatory or it can actually help towards labor peace the year after based on some of the decisions that these general managers make? And like Sean alluded to a little bit in the first segment, they're all getting together this week.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you they're talking about it. And if you're a general manager saying, I can't make this deal for this X amount of years or this X amount of dollars right now because I'm worried about next year, if I was a player, I would be wildly pissed off, which would only inflame some of the some of the agita or some of the, honestly, like the anger that would come into the negotiations that are still 12 months away. So that's why I don't want to read too much into it, but this offseason is a bit of I don't know, is it the preview to what the attitudes are going to be like between these two sides as they try and come to the table and try and get a deal? That's what I'm curious to watch.
Right. It's they're all sitting around at the steakhouse and the waiter's like, okay, sir, and how would you like your bone-in ribeye cooked tonight? And the guy looks around, he's like, collusion. Never mind. I'll take it rare. Thank you very much. I'll take it rare.
And I will have the deer liver, please. I'm the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Actually, I'll take it rare, like my deer liver.
Exactly.
So what should be Jed and Carter's priority here this week? If this only is a groundwork type week, if they're just laying the groundwork for deals, what should be their priorities for what they're really trying to hammer down a pathway to? One, for me, is a superstar. I don't care if that superstar is a pitcher. I don't care if that superstar is a position player. You need to keep, if Tucker's gone, you got to have a superstar. If that guy's Schwarber, I want it to be Schwarber. I want multiple things to happen, but first and foremost, it's got to be a superstar. I don't want 3 mid-level guys. Teams win with superstars. Like you said, look at Vlad Guerrero, look at Shohei, look at Yamamoto. Superstar, superstar, superstar. What I want is to make sure that the Cubs have a superstar. Now, PCA might be one someday, but right now I want a certainty on my superstar level. And so that's the first thing I think I want to see them laying the groundwork for. I don't know that that's what they're doing, but that's what I hope they're doing.
Well, Luke, and I agree with you, because my pitch to Jed and Carter would be that there's 2 different versions of heavy lifting, and one of them's already been done. The heavy lifting is building a solid baseball team and prioritizing depth. I think they did a good job of that over the last 12 months. I understand they have to turn it over, but they have a bit of a formula that they can implement to try and get it back to and see if they can run it back again like that. And they've created fantastic flexibility. This isn't like, oh no, the credit card bill is due in 2 weeks. What are we going to do? Slash, get rid of this, get rid of that. The Chicago Cubs do not have to do that because of the natural cycle of some of the deals that these players have signed. We've gone over it. There are countless Cubs that the Chicago Cubs are going to have to replace, but also are coming off the books that provides that flexibility, whether it is a Jamison Tyone, Matthew Boyd, Ian Happ, who we're going to do a card on in about 5 minutes. They got to make a decision on Seiya Suzuki, Carson Kelly, even the Colin Ray news. They can get out of it after 1 year. They only just tacked on 1 extra year, so they can get out of that. It's a short-term deal. But the other heavy lifting is what you're talking about, and sometimes that could be the heaviest lift, is convincing not just the player, but convincing the front office and ownership to spend the heavy dollars to what you said, bring in that superstar to take us over the top. 1 or 2 difference makers to add to a really solid team, a great defensive team, a team that prioritizes a very team-like style of play, but adding some guys in there that really scare the opposition and can push the Chicago Cubs past 92 games, maybe past the division series, and truly compete for the pennant in the World Series. And I think the Cubs are in a position to do that. Now, though, they just have to now do that one last really heavy lift, and that's that superstar.
That's right. Johnny Water Ice says Joe Ryan trade. And that superstar I'm talking about, there's pathways to it, right? Like, I prefer the pathway of spending money, that just spending cash. That's what you have more than anybody else. But that path could come in the form of via a trade. Maybe they're laying the groundwork for a trade for a Joe Ryan. Listen, Joe Ryan is not a superstar right now because nobody knows who he is because he plays in Minnesota. Would he be a superstar if he were on the Cubs? He'd be getting a lot closer. Skubal is a superstar, even though he plays in Detroit. But if he were on the Cubs, he'd be a monster superstar, right? Like, he'd be on the list like that. So there are guys out there whose names have been at least floated around or mentioned. Hey, Bryce Harper's probably on that list of guys that could still be considered a superstar or at least have superstar status, even if their play is dipped down a little bit, that the Cubs could find that, whether that's laying the groundwork for one of these trades or convincing a Schwarber or somebody else, that convincing Kyle Tucker that they will spend more money than somebody else, and we are a better place for you to finish your career.
Yeah, and I think that's a great tease because we were talking before the show. I think sometime maybe this week, CHGO Cubs fans, or maybe early next week, I think me and Luke are going to kind of lay out it's snowing out, so we can call it Christmas lists at this point. But again, if you want to hypothetically work yourself into and it might seem a little pie in the sky, who our top 5 trade targets would be for the Chicago Cubs that would instantly make the Cubs better, that would instantly make them contenders. I definitely think we're going to do that segment this week before some names either get taken off the board, crossed off the list, or before moves get made. And it'll be a list that it's just fun to dream is what it is, Luke. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO Cubs podcast. On the other side of the break, it's time. Pitchforks, high fives. What's it going to be? The Ian Happ report card, everybody. I know we're on both sides of the room, but we're going to come together and try and come to a conclusion and give him an overall grade. But first, let's take a break on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota.
Mando whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere on your body. Pits, bits, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, and those stanky feet. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. They are baking soda free and paraben free. Choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level is a 5 out of 10, but with Mando, that's a 0 out of 10. The starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, plus free shipping. Special offer. New customers get a 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use CHGO at shopmando.com for 20% off. That's shopmando.com. Tell them we sent you. Tell them Joey Stanky Feet sent you.
They'll thank you for it. And hey, Chicagoans, guess what? Look out the window. Winter is here. There's 4 inches of snow on the ground. And last night, was your home's heating up for the challenge? Because now is the time to schedule your Four Seasons furnace tune-up. Thinking about the whole home generator? Well, they've got you covered. At Four Seasons, they can guarantee same-day installation for all your heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical, and generator needs with no extra charge for nights, weekends, or holidays. You can save up right now to $4,000 on furnaces and comfort systems with Four Seasons heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric. Furnaces at $39 a month and furnace AC combos for $57 a month. So here's what you got to do. Four Seasons heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric has been serving the Chicagoland community for over 50 years. Your trusted local experts at Four Seasons heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and cooling. So go to Four Seasons heatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's Four Seasons heatingcooling.com. Coming back here on the CHGO Cubs podcast, Becky is here, Luke. Becky is here. Just got done with a roast dinner. Tell us more.
Yeah.
How did it go?
Well, what weather for roast. That's a nice roast weather today. Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. We've got some great comments. Got some great people in the chat today. Love what Craig Brindle's bringing to the table. Pete Armstrong, always. I'm sorry about the platinum glove, buddy, but we welcome you into the chat. Joseph Crosdale keeps crushing it. They're saying trade Shaw for Scooble. We shall see, obviously. We're going to come up with our top 5 trade targets later this week. But Luke, I'm going to toss it to you, man. It's Ian Happ report card time.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
One of the most, we've been saying it for a long time on this podcast, one of the most polarizing players among the Cubs fan base is Ian Happ. Dansby's on the list. He's a nominee. But Ian Happ, for some reason, is another one. Here's a guy they drafted, and the awards have been there. He seems to be the guy you want 100% in the clubhouse, in the community. He does all the right things. He never says the wrong thing. And yet there's at least a 50-50 split. Some people just don't like Ian Happ. I've been in the bleachers where they're cursing his name, and then the person next to him when he gets a hit is like, oh yeah, what about that? And so here we are, the Ian Happ report card. We're going to judge him on offense, defense, and overall. And by the way, this could be the last year coming up for Ian Happ.
It's true.
In a Cubs uniform. This is it. Still has a no trade clause. And this is the final year of his contract with the Cubs. So I'm going to start with offense. And for offense, I went C+. Now, I didn't do a deep dive into stats on any of that. I wasn't doing some heavy stat dive because that's not who I am. I went and looked at, all right, WRC+, he's right there. This was an average Ian Happ season. Then Joey provided me with this stat. Player with 3 or more seasons with a 115 WRC plus since 2000 for the Cubs. Rizzo had 7, Aram had 7, and now Ian Happ has 6. That's the same as Chris Bryant. That's more than Wilson Contreras. That's more than D. Lee, Sammy, Seiya, or Soriano. So, yes, some of that is about how long he's been here. He's a good offensive player. He's an inconsistent offensive player. He's not average. That stat right there, the WRC plus is showing you he's not an average offensive player. He's a better than average offensive player. The slumps can make it feel so heavy sometimes that I couldn't go B, even though he might be actually a B. I couldn't go that high because I knew that the angry fans would just throw me under the bus. Well, so I let him influence me, and I went to a C plus for offense.
So I think that there are two main reasons. You've highlighted one of them, why Ian Happ is so polarizing here in Chicago. One of them I think is based in reality, and I think the other one's just based in Cubs Sickoville. So I want you to get your take on the Sickoville one. Do you ever feel like sometimes that he gets there's a portion of it that he was the last one left, that he survived the Cubby purge of 2020, and because he is such a consistent player that as a fan you never see him really truly ascend, you just see him stay on the same flatline baseline path, that maybe that there's an underwhelming feeling from Cubs fans. Like, and the inconsistency, you're right, and I'm going to dive into that in a second. You can't walk away from that. He's a streaky hitter, and when he goes cold, it's really bad. But just really quickly, just your take on him being the last one that survived of the Cubby core and him just being the same guy year in and year out. Do you think that hurts him in the eyes of Cubs fans?
I've never thought about it, but what you're saying makes sense to me, right? Like, he starts coming up as the golden era starts fading slightly. And so he's connected to that just a little bit. He's also a first-round pick that was supposed to blend those two eras. And so he never reached Chris Bryant superstar status. Now, you could compare him, and there's also, I think this is part of it too, Joey. Now, maybe it's not just that. It's also, listen, the Cubs basically chose between Schwarber and Happ. One of them was going to go. They basically chose, and they said, all right, Schwarber, you can walk away because we know that Happ's going to be better defensively, and we think he's going to be more consistent, and we think he can play a position, and we think he's a switch hitter, and so his ceiling might not be as high, but we're going to go with that. Now, I think most people in hindsight would look at it and say, well, obviously the Cubs made a mistake. You should have kept both, but if you were going to keep one, you should have believed in Schwarber. I don't know if that, I would assume the Cubs know that, and that's nothing against Ian Happ. But yes, the connection to the past might be part of it. I think first-round pick, all of a sudden the Cubs thought everybody was going to be Bryant, everybody was going to be Schwarber, everybody was going to turn into keeping them World Series. Because Theo was here, everything was going to be right, and every pick was going to be right. Even though we had an outfielder that already showed their first round pick showed you that not every first round pick works. He helped you get to the World Series, but he also is long gone and out of baseball. So is Happ better than that? Yes. And Joey, frankly, what were his zips? His zip projections were 22 homers, 80 RBI, a 120 WRC plus, and a 3.3 FWAR. He's pretty close to that. There were times where people were just DFA. He shouldn't be allowed to even play baseball anywhere in the world. People get so angry about Happ, but he's basically the same player every season. It's not a bad player.
No, and the numbers are borderline obnoxious because the baseball, we talk all the time of baseball is just crazy sport and you never know where you're going to get and you're only as good as your next day's starter and stuff. And then you roll out and Ian Happ just does the same thing every year. So let's get to my grades and I'm going to start throwing out, some stats, right? And I think what's important when we ingest Ian Happ is I think I just want to look at the last 4 seasons, and you highlighted it with the 6 that he's had that ranks him since the 2000s, one of the more productive Cubs hitters and consistent hitters out there. But over the last 4 straight seasons, at least 150 plus games every single year, 20 plus home runs in 4 of the last 5. He's had OPSs of 2021, 757, 2022, 782, 2023, 791, 2024, 782, and this last year, 762. They're all in the same range. Averages over that 4-year span, 21.5 home runs per season, 35.75 doubles per season, which would rank top 12 or top 13 across the National League, 83.5 runs scored, 80.25 RBIs, all in the last 4 seasons. We're going to talk about, Kazuma Okamoto at third base, right? Should the Cubs sign him? 4 years, $64 million is the projected deal that he might sign right now. Coming over, is this going to be the big free agent signing for the Chicago Cubs? If Okamoto gave you those numbers next year, as a Cubs fan, you would be happy. And yet, as a Cubs fan, a lot of times, a lot of Cubs fans aren't excited or satisfied with Ian Happ. Now, before we get into like the deeper numbers, let's get to what you talked about with the inconsistency. And you can't run away from it. And sickos like us and everyone in the chat, Becky, of course we miss you when you're not around the show. She asked if Luke and Joey miss her. Of course, every single time. But the sickos that watch every single game, we all know and can't run away that for 2 months, Ian Happ was terrible this year. And it was in June and July. In 49 games, which is almost at least a quarter of the season. Over 184 at-bats, hit 195. Just not good. The other problem was, and looking back on it, and look, I had banged the drum on this show before. I was wrong. They did the right thing. I said, why not just stick Ian Happ back up at the top of the lineup, and let's see if we can kind of rejuvenate some of the magic that happened with the offense early on in the season. I was wrong. Michael Busch should be our leadoff hitter next year. Yeah, and that's okay. But hitting leadoff in the games this year, 84 games, over 340 at-bats, 224 batting average. The on-base percentage was a lot better at any other spot in the lineup because he was trying to work a count and try and get on base. But again, there's these little things, Luke. The 2-month stretch is a big thing, but also leading off a game and not getting on base, it's a great way to like kind of get under a Cubs fan skin. So it's just, this is Ian Happ. You know what I mean? Like the numbers are always going to be there by year end, but the inconsistencies will always remain. And that's where you have to kind of pick and parcel and make a decision. And maybe that's why people are so kind of split on him at times.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question there were frustrating parts of the season. I think you could say that about every year. You always think everybody's like, oh, he's been unplayable for 2 months, but you always know that sometime it's going to bounce back, right? Like there's going to be a moment late in the season, or in this case, the postseason, where you're like, man, I feel good for him to hit that home run. I feel good for him, right? And I agree about the leadoff stuff. Although remember that Michael Busch isn't always leading off against every pitcher. They've basically said we're not gonna play you there and put you there if you're batting against a lefty. So we got to wait and see when it's apples to apples who's the best leadoff man. Now I still hope and think it's going to be Michael Busch. I think his future is brighter, but it's just interesting to see how Happ is thought of so polarizing, so completely different by parts of the fan base. I think when it's all said and done, is he a Cubs Hall of Famer? That might be a stretch. Okay.
Right.
But is he in the Cubs Hall of Very Good Players? Yes. He's not a bust of a first round draft pick. When a guy plays for you this long and wins 4 straight Gold Gloves and now has 4 straight seasons of a WRC plus of 117 or more, and they're all Gold Glove seasons, the guy's not bad. That's not a bad baseball player. So for my, defense, I look at it and say the best player's not playing defense. He's not in left field. But is he the best of the group in left field? I think you can make that argument. He's won it 4 straight years in a row. So my defensive grade was an A. I can't disagree with the Gold Glove thing when it's 4 years in a row. Am I saying he's the best outfielder? No, I'm not saying Tatis. But my overall, I know this is what was bothering Sean. Sean said, give me the math. Tell me how you get to this, right, Sean? Sean's all mad that I went C plus A, and then my overall grade is what? C?
If you got a report card that was a C plus and an A, you'd be like, oh, great, I got like around a B minus. You'd be pretty pissed at that C overall. I'm just confused.
That's right. But there are no facts allowed on this podcast. Don't
let them get in the way. Never let them get in the way.
Facts get in the way of a good story.
Never.
My report cards never had a feel to it, right? Like this has to have a feel to it. And you're assuming that a C is a bad grade. Again, I was thrilled with a C in school. It's average. He's average. He's been and I think that's probably slightly negative. But the reason I go from C plus to an A and come out with a C is because I did feel like that gap in June and July was longer. And I did feel for the first time that with the contract coming up, more people want to see that position turn over and change to somebody else. That's not his fault. He's been the same guy every year. And most importantly, overall, C, did he exceed projections, which is what Jed wants. Guys to have these. No, he did not. He had a good old-fashioned Ian Happ season, which is great defensively, above average offensively, and as far as our fan base is concerned, right down the middle. I'll put it as a C. I'm not going to give him an F to make people happy. I'm not going to give him an A to make people happy. I'm going to give him a C because he's been exactly what he is every single year, average to above average. But it's the first time I felt like maybe the decline is coming and maybe the end of his Cubs career is coming. It's not necessarily his fault, but can I start to see that he's getting to be maybe an older player? Yeah, none of the stats show that. It's just the overall feel of the season.
Yeah, maybe the latter on his career as a Cub,
Yes.
But there were some underlying things that looked pretty good. His K rate, 22.8%, the second lowest of his career. His walk rate, 13.1, third highest of his career. The last 3 seasons have been over 12%, so he's controlling the zone better than he ever has. He had an expected batting average of 260, which is the highest that he had of the last 4 seasons. Now, expected batting average isn't your actual batting average, so you can have the conversation of did he get maybe a little unlucky. But when it comes to my grades for Ian Happ, I'm going offense B minus. I'm going defense A, and then for my overall grade, I'm gonna go with a B. It's gonna be my overall grade for Ian Happ, because honestly, the defense we're not gonna dispute. One of the best left fielders, Gold Glove every single year, totally makes sense. The B minus was, and here's where I'm coming at, and again. I looked all this stuff up, and when we talk about June and July, how bad he was this year, well, guess what? Every single year in June and July, Ian Happ isn't great. Career 232 batting average in the month of June, which is by far the worst batting average of any month in his career. Over the span of his entire time in the major leagues, a 399 career slug in July. Obviously, he didn't show up in July either, but then he gets hot in August and September. Career 519 slug and a career 466 slug in September. And that's exactly what he did in the month of September this year. 287 slash line, 382 on base, 511 slug, 5 home runs, 6 doubles, 11 RBIs. Now, the reason why I gave him a B minus on my offense, a defense and an A and B overall. The offense was a B minus because this was a very typical Ian Happ year, except for one major thing. And if he can actually turn this around next year and get back to his career norm, I think Ian Happ is going to have a better season than he actually did this year. If you look at his splits, Ian Happ in his career has always been great against the NL Central. We know the narrative of he's from Pittsburgh, so every time he plays in PNC Park, he hits great. We know some of the narratives of he does great when he plays against the Cincinnati Reds. Well, this year, it actually was not the case. Again, Pittsburgh Pirates, water is wet. Hit 289 with an on-base percentage of 424 and a 422 slug. His career, though, which is so that's around like 840-ish OPS. Career OPS 960, so underperformed that number. Against the Cardinals this year, 234 batting average, only 319 slug. A career 905 OPS against the Cardinals. Career underperforming that projection there. The Brewers, never's been great against the Brewers, was actually kind of good against the Brewers this year with a 40-88 slug, 784 career. And then this is the big one, the Reds. Really struggled against that Reds pitching staff, and they've got some young arms with a lot of heat, and they brought in Andrew Abbott, and they still have Hunter Green and Zach Littell and all these guys. Only hit 196 against them, career 954 OPS. So you could look at this two ways. Way one, Ian Happ performs better against his NL Central Division foes that he's known his whole career, performs better against them next year, has a better year. Or Luke, you have to also ask the question, has the NL Central's pitching finally caught up to a player who every single year kind of depends upon feasting on the division to get those counting stats at the end of the year? That's the question.
Yes, I see our guy Praz is in the YouTube chat here at the all-new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel, and I'm glad because I know he doesn't hide it. He's a Happ hater. I've been in the bleachers where I turn around and go, oh, that's 2 hits. He's got more hits than anybody on the team there. The Friday 120 Club, Praz. And he'll be like, but it's rare. So Praz is saying, zooming out a bit, little kind of like connect him a little bit to the bad play of Rizzo and Bryant and those guys from 17 to 20. So he is sort of connecting some of those scars to the end of the golden era, as you were suggesting. I'm curious, Praz, what grade would you give him just for this season? I understand the scars are there, but Praz, what grade would you give Ian Happ?
He called him Harold Baines, which I love. That's a great comp. Listen, the Harold Baines of the Cubs is so good.
Joey, I knew when we did this podcast, I knew there was no way that if the word got out what we were doing today, that Praz would not show up for this podcast. I knew if we were going to have one viewer eyeball on this show, Praz would be the guy sitting there, just sitting with a lighter, ready to burn his laptop if he needed to. He doesn't like him. I don't think he has anything against the player, because I would say this, like if you're trying to give a grade overall, maybe I should have actually gone from C to C plus just for overall good guy. Do you want somebody else representing your team? I mean, you're not worried about him pulling Emmanuel Clase stuff. You're not worried about him doing something worse than that, right? Like, he is exactly what an organization wants from a player off the field and in the clubhouse. That should count for something. I know as fans, we really don't put as much value on it as we probably should. And I understand, because we're here to watch wins. But
remember, Luke, also,
all things equal, it's a pretty nice thing to have.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just remember, if you do gamble on things, you will be a beloved figure like Pete Rose still is in Cincinnati. So don't worry. You could also just gamble, and people just don't care.
That's true. That is true.
The final one, Luke, on this is, and we did it for the pitchers. We're not doing it for the hitters because it's a little bit, I don't know, it's a smaller sample size, or call it whatever you want. But how do you make sense of Ian Happ's postseason? 3 for 26. 10 Ks, 2 walks, 4 RBIs, 3 runs scored, 5 multi-K games, hit 2 home runs, but that one home run was so electric and so needed, and it was a cup of water in the desert of our Cubs season, possibly. You know what I mean? Like, so how do you make sense of that? He had an awful postseason, but damn it, that 3-run home run was incredible, and I'm never going to forget it. And if I saw Ian Happ on the street, I'm not going to go, hey, 3 for 26 in the postseason. I'm going to go, dude, thanks for that 3-run bomb. How do you make sense of that as a Cubs fan?
By the way, Praz is now giving out his C, defense A, offense D, C. So he's kind of on what I am. The offseason is the same roller coaster that the regular season was, only in a condensed version, right? Like, there's moments of, yes, that is our left fielder, and there's moments of, man, oh man, is he ever going to get a hit? I would say, do you think Brewers fans actually look at Yelich with the same lens? I mean, Yelich in the postseason's been a disaster.
Complete
disaster.
Did not scare me, would not scare me, was a a side note, a footnote. He was nothing to be trifled with in the postseason at all.
So maybe Cubs fans sort of feel, or, I guess maybe the flip side is true of Happ, but I think when you zoom out, most people look at those two players around the league and are like, yeah, Yelich has had a pretty good career. And Ian Happ's had a pretty good career. They're not superstars. They've had some, Yelich has been to the top. Maybe he was cheating. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But they're really good players, but they've had tough times in the postseason. And I just think this postseason was every bit as polarizing and confusing as the regular season for Ian Happ. That home run I felt great for him. And then the double strikeout thing, the multiple strikeout thing was just that's what you get sometimes.
Yeah, he was the microcosm of the Cubs offense in the postseason, right? Like Seiya Suzuki unequivocally stepped up big time and was a guy that we can count on. And yeah, Sean, you're flashing right now what he did against fastball. Thank you for doing that, especially 95 plus fastball. Had an expected slug against fastball of 475 this year. So he was able to feast on those pitches. But again, like a lot of the Cubs lineup, once that fastball and that velocity got over 95 plus, got up in the zone, the book was out. That's how they were attacking every single hitter. And Ian Happ was definitely lumped into that bunch too as well. Look, I mean, he's got a year left on his deal, and I understand. I don't think anyone on this podcast or anyone in the chat is pounding the table and saying, let's extend Ian Happ right now. But he is a solid Chicago Cub. I do think that he is a winning player. And I've said this before in another podcast, Luke, sometimes it is a contract year. So it does make you think every once in a while, a player has that outlier year. And I'm always just curious, does Ian Happ have that in him? The year when he just hits 30 bombs, drives in 90.
Exceed projection.
Gets that exceeds projections, gets that OPS back over 800, which he had early on in his career when he wasn't exactly playing every single day. And just be the best version of himself for one more year and to sign that one more contract. I don't know if it's going to be with the Chicago Cubs because the way that he's kind of trending right now, wouldn't you say, Luke, if the Cubs wanted to bring him back past 2026, I would guess it might begin the stage of his career when it would be in a lesser role. I don't know if he'd play 150, 155 games every single year.
I know usually a fourth outfielder goes to the role of a young guy, but in this case, I'm not against that becoming the future for Ian Happ rather than seeing him play for the Pirates for 2 seasons. I'm not sure Alcantara is really a brighter future in left or moving Seiya over to left and playing Casey. I don't know. We're gonna find out. Let's put a ribbon on Ian Happ because before we go, and we only got a couple minutes, I want to set you up with a new segment here on the CHGO Cubs podcast, and it's linked to our friends at the Chicago Bears.
Good, better, bad. Good, better, bad. Never let it rest. Never let it rest. Good gets better. Good gets better. You better get better. You better get better.
Of course, the computer freezed.
There it is.
It's all right. I'm
good,
alive.
Better,
Sicko check-in, Vince Perez. Yeah, baby.
All right. So I came up with my good, better, best, never let it rest for the Cubs this season. My good, Sean Palencia. They were good, but there's plenty of room for that good to be better, right? My better, Horton, PCA, Bush. They were better than the goods. And then the best, the Cubs defense. We just talked about a guy that won Gold Glove, right? There's a guy who won a Gold Glove in Happ. They won 3 of them. You've got guys that won Gold Gloves. And so that's where, and never let it rest, Joey. This is the theme of the week for the Cubs as they lay the groundwork in Vegas. Never stop pursuing a star player. Never stop. Never let it rest. Go get me Schwarber or Skubal. Or both.
We're not. Our list is not far off at all in terms of the good, better, best. For the good, I have the Cubs defense, and I got the shout out for the good, Ian Happ and the Cubs Happeteers, the guys who hit 240 and 20 bombs and 80 RBIs. Yeah. Cheers to the Happeteers. You're good, but you ain't great. The better is what the Cubs need. I'm in agreement with you. We're just kind of switching the order here. Better is what I want on the Chicago Cubs, and that is superstar talent. My best for right now on this Monday is let's give it up for the young kids. PCA with the Gold Glove, not the Platinum Glove winner. Oh shoot! But tonight they announced the Rookie of the Year, and it could be a gentleman named Cade Horton. So how do you like that? A pitcher with the Rookie of the Year and a PCA in center field that's playing in All-Star games and getting Gold Gloves. That's my best. And then the Never Let It Rest, right there with you, Luke. This offseason, turn over every stone, and may that stone underneath it be gigantic Kyle Schwarber. Oh my God, 56 home runs underneath this tiny little stone. But this offseason is the next step for the Chicago Cubs. It is not just setting on your laurels at 92 wins and the NLDS. You're so close. The next step is right in front of you. That is the never let it rest until you move on and compete for the pennant.
Hey, real quick on this good, better, best, never let it rest. We did it during the playoffs, too, in honor of the Bears. I heard the score telling a great story that Tom Scher, the legendary broadcaster in Chicago, called in, was telling Speaks and Lawrence, listen, I've heard that before. It's actually from Billy Williams' 1987 Hall of Fame induction speech, and that's what his grade school teacher used to say to Billy Williams. So I'm not just connecting dots from Ben Johnson, the Cubs fan, to good, better, best, never let it rest, and what we do here on the CHGO Cubs podcast. This goes back to Billy Williams, guys. This goes back to Billy's childhood. So there you have the connection. Good,
that's
better,
so
best.
good. I'm buying you. Next time you're in the office, I'm buying you Deer Blood. On me. That was great. That's real good.
But what about human blood? What's the price on that, Joey?
Hold on. Yeah. That's for our next good, better, best.
Once again, I've gone a little bit too far. My best was a little too creepy, a little too strange for a lot of people out there. Yeah, good. I like this. I want to do this throughout the offseason and the season. Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Till your good gets better and your better is the best. Is that how it goes? We've said it a few different ways. I think Ben's actually said it a few different ways.
I'm mostly just annoyed with you, Luke, because you knew that was a Billy Williams quote for an hour and a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You could have told me, and I could have, clipped it, and we could have played the Billy Williams thing at the Hall of Fame.
We're gonna upgrade it. There is a clip. I've heard the clip on the radio. I just heard it the other day, and it's Billy Williams in his speech about his teacher growing up in. I believe he grew up in Alabama, and that was her saying every day at school, and it stuck with him. It drove him throughout his career.
That is the beauty of having a show tomorrow.
Did it start there? I don't know.
I'm buying it. We're gonna have to find out till tomorrow. I think we gotta get out of here, Luke. I think that's what's going on. Thank you so much for tuning into the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Great comments today. Great people in the chat. Come on in tomorrow. Tomorrow, Tuesdays with Roman, with me, with Luke in the studio, talking more Chicago Cubs. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a total stranger. But until then, Luke, what are we gonna do?
Fly the W. Good, better, best. Never let it rest.
Do you get better? Get better response.
We all silly like the mayor.